Hi, my name's Kate Miller-Heidke. I'm a singer and songwriter, and I'm going to be reading from a journal I kept while performing in The Death of Klinghoffer by John Adams at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. The opera, just to give you a little bit of background, it's attracted controversy for drawing links between the displacement of the Palestinians by Israel in 1948 and the terrorist hijacking of the cruise liner, the Achille Lauro, in the 80s, during which a wheelchair-bound Jewish New Yorker, Leon Klinghoffer, was pushed off the side in his wheelchair and murdered. Its opponents say that to see a Palestinian hijacker singing on stage humanises terrorists. September 15, List Hall Chorus Room, Metropolitan Opera, New York. This is the biggest production I've ever been involved in. There are 12 principals, 14 supers, actors who don't sing, 60 chorus, 10 dancers, the director, the associate director, the conductor, 2 assistant conductors, 3 or 4 pianists, the choreographer, 2 assistant choreographers, the diction coach, the prompter, the chorus master, 2 stage directors, 3 child actors and their minders, understudies for every principal role, plus an unidentified number of random people who presumably do very important jobs. The trees are turning gold in Central Park. September 18, Sea Level Rehearsal Room. We're gradually finding our way through this complex and sometimes opaque piece of theatre. The score is a masterpiece, packed with drama, intensity and beauty. The diction coach gives me a note. Apparently the correct way to sing absolutely ludicrous is absolutely ludicrous. What a pile of snooty crap, I think. Then I try it and my voice pings out clearer and easier than before, and I'm never going to sing it any other way. Part of the rehearsal process involves research and discussion about terrorism, the history of Palestine, the Klinghofers and other passengers, and how countries deal with international terrorist acts. This kind of research is not normal in the world of opera, and one of the other singers tells me he thinks it's boring and pointless. I disagree. September 22, outside the Lincoln Center. It's the launch night of the Met's new season of shows. There's a small anti-Klinghoffer demonstration going on outside. I finish rehearsals early, don a hat and sunglasses, and slip into the protest. The first thing that strikes me is their anger. There's a lot of shouting. There are a few hundred of them, none of whom have seen the opera. They say this opera is anti-Semitic and glorifies terrorism, and no one questions that or delves any deeper into it. One man hands out sheets with the libretto from the aria of one of the hijackers, Rambo. The sheet is missing any context or explanation of Rambo's character. In the show, he's presented as a baddie whose music is ugly. He is to be loathed and feared. A woman offers me a placard saying, "Klinghoffer opera, propaganda masquerading as art," and seems pissed off when I refuse to hold it. "You will be made to destroy that set. We will be here every night until that set is burned to the ground," one speaker says. Clearly, they haven't seen the set. It's mostly metal and rubble, and I can't imagine it would burn very effectively. It's quite big too. I wonder where he was planning on sparking up a bonfire of that size in Manhattan. Maybe they'd have to take it out to Jersey first. The organisers have bussed in several dozen high school students who are chatting up the back and taking selfies. As I leave, I ask a few of them if they've been studying the opera in school. They reply no. I ask them why they're here. "It's anti-Semitic," one says. "What about the ISIS beheadings? Do you think there should be an opera about beheadings?" One of them asks me. I have just seen Wolf Hall in London, but I can't really be bothered getting into it. They've already been told what to think by their teacher. I hear one girl say to her friends, "You guys, this is not the time for selfies." Protesters accost glamorously dressed audience members on their way to opening night of The Marriage of Figaro, yelling, "You know the Met wants to glorify terrorism, right? Make sure you tell them you don't approve." One speaker says the Met is trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator, which is young and ignorant people. He does have a point there. Most young, ignorant people I know are totally mad for John Adams and modern opera. September 24, Sea Level. Michael Bonn, ex-head of the Situation Room at the White House, you know, that dark room with maps and flashing lights from the West Wing, comes to speak to us. He was there during the Achille Lauro hijacking. He thinks the war on terror is ridiculous. Terror is a political tactic. You can't wage war on a tactic. He talks about how everyone benefits from terrorism. Leaders grab the opportunity to make themselves look strong. In the Klinghoffer case, it was Palestine Liberation Front chief Abu Abbas and Yasser Arafat, Reagan, the leader of Israel, the president of Italy, the president of Egypt. Newspapers sell more copies. Then, he says, there's the theatre industry, the movie industry, the people who make coffee for the movie industry. The only people who don't benefit from terrorism are the victims. That night, I watch Anna Netrebko sing Lady Macbeth from the company box. I'm outraged at this glorification and justification of killing kings. October 3, ballet studio. The rehearsal process is quite exhausting. I have to cower and act terrified for 7 hours a day. Some parts of the opera are genuinely scary, and I have bruises all over my legs from being pushed around by Rambo. My body doesn't quite know it isn't real. Fear is fear, it's a physical thing, and sometimes I'm crying under my blindfold. October 6, main stage. Stage rehearsals begin. Now, in addition to the huge cast and support team, we have set and lighting designers, projection designers, sound engineers, subtitle people, dressers, wig makers, costume designers, makeup artists, stage managers, and an army of burly blokes who come in with power tools to assemble and disassemble sets in between daytime rehearsals and the evening show. Oh, and the orchestra. The first time I sing with them, it's so exciting it knocks the breath out of me. Hooray for life. October 11, main stage. I have my own dresser who sits outside my dressing room until I'm ready for her. Someone who puts my wig on. Someone who puts my mic on. Someone who does my makeup. Someone who collects my dirty underwear at the end of the show. I'm Beyonce. My dresser busts me examining my bare ass in the three-way mirror. October 14, Walter Reed Theatre, Lincoln Centre. I attend a teach-in about anti-Semitism with our director, Tom Morris, held by the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy. We get some strange looks, but I don't think anyone in the crowd recognises us. The participants have a lot of valid concerns about rising anti-Semitism around the world, and they're trying to hang them all on Klinghoffer. They're stunned that this opera is being mounted at the most prestigious opera house in America, in York City. There's a bit of nonsense spoken, such as, everyone likes singers. If a terrorist sings, you can't help but see them as a hero, followed by a demonstration of this extraordinary phenomenon. There are some more dangerous speeches too, like the rabbi who thinks that love is overrated and that there should be more hate in the world because if you can't unequivocally hate terrorists, then we're lost. Tom is waiting for the right moment to interject and ask whether people would like to know a little more about the opera, but it never comes. There is no time for questions at this event. It is a teach-in. Fuckety fuck, Tom bemoans afterwards in his Oxbridge accent. I failed to speak up in the face of wrongness. His endearing self-doubt is at odds with the loudness and fervour we've just witnessed. October 15, main stage. I'm awed by the scale and beauty of the Metropolitan Opera stage. Backstage, sets from all the other current productions mingle together. There's a life-sized gored bull from Carmen. There's Lady Macbeth's bed. Some towering idols, are they from the Magic Flute? Parts of Parisian Bohème. And how do they get all that snow to fall so perfectly? Jesse Kowarski, who plays Omar, the shooter of Klinghoffer, is upset about the prospect of getting booed. Jesse is Jewish. So is Maya Layani, an Israeli who plays Omar's Palestinian mother. This process has been extremely challenging for me, especially after the difficult summer we had in Israel, she says. October 16, 5th floor studio. Security briefing from Met CEO Peter Gelb about opening night. Normally, the cast is allowed to bring guests backstage, but not this time. They run through the procedure if there's a disruption and we have to stop the performance. The singers who play terrorists want to know what they should do if someone grabs them during their walk through the audience at the end of the show. No one mentions bombs, but I'm thinking about the Jewish Defense League, members of which have carried out several deadly terror attacks within the US on perceived enemies of Israel. There will be plainclothes police dotted around the theatre in case of emergency. I wonder if any of them are opera fans. October 17, 5th and 90th. Lavish cocktail party at the 4-storey skyscraping 5th Avenue penthouse of Anne Ziff, the chairwoman of the Metropolitan Opera. Her parties are famous. Parts of the apartment look like the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, with statues and ancient ceramics arranged in cabinets. Dinner is by a celebrity chef. Opera in the US is not publicly subsidised and relies on large donations from wealthy people. The super rich in New York City are really, really rich. Anne mentions casually that she paid for the ring last season. I think about the Medici family and, closer to home, the Sidney Myer Foundation. Gina Reinhardt, where the bloody hell are you? I drink too much cognac, the butler death stares me, and we outstay our welcome. A few people on Twitter tell me I'm a disgusting fascist who thinks killing Jews is art. October 19, 5th and 68th. There's a big article on the front page of the New York Times arts section, Opera Under Fire. I attend another extravagant Fifth Avenue soiree. This time I have to sing. Philip Glass eyeballs me from the front row. I shit myself, but luckily I'm wearing black. John Adams himself is also at the party. He says the furor is a lot of shouting and yelling, seemingly scripted, but no listening. It saddens him deeply that Klinghoffer's 2 daughters think the opera is anti-Semitic. I self-medicate by eating too much cheese and have to go home. October 20, main stage, it's opening night. NYPD swarm. I have to show my Met ID just across the street. Rudy Giuliani is the headline protester outside, trying to make sure people don't forget who he is. There's also a wheelchair caravan, 50 protesters sitting in wheelchairs in a line facing the Lincoln Center. I overhear snatches of passionate conversation about Gaza, terrorism, freedom of speech. Even the police and the cafeteria are discussing it. There are rumours of smoke bombs. The curtain goes up. There's an unmistakable charge in the room. Anything could happen. During the performance, a man repeatedly yells, "The murder of Klinghoffer will never be forgiven," followed by, "Get your hands off me," as he's arrested. A woman with a Brooklyn accent replies, "No one is here to forgive." This seems to open up the floor for anyone to shout things. At the start of the second act, someone yells, "I love this." Someone else yells, "This is shit." Some people, including several rabbis, have paid $1,000 each to boo from private boxes. They're drowned out by cheers that build to a thunderous standing ovation at the end of the show. The opera stars on this stage eat standing ovations for breakfast, but I doubt any of them have felt anything quite like this, and the disruptors are somehow as much a part of it as we are. I drink champagne and debrief with smart, talented, courageous people, some of whom are now dear friends. I hail a taxi and zoom downtown through the magical 3 a.m. streets of Manhattan, feeling very tiny, very giddy, and very alive. Thank you.
Visit wheelercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and the world.